Hi guys! Today is our final lesson in the rhythmic alphabet. We are going to call it metamorphosis. We will see and hear, of course, an amazing transformation occurring with our rhythmic figures that have already become our friends. Now we will implant a rest into each of them. Let's start with the rhythmic figure 4/16. Here it is. Let's change the first note into a rest. Now let's change the third note to the rest. Now let's change the second note to a rest. And finally, let's change the last one to a rest. And now let's look. In the first two cases, the rest caused the syncopation. And in the other two, the sounding now seems close to the other rhythmic figures. If you understand the principle of rest implanting into rhythmic figures, you can conduct independent research. Now, let's stop our lesson. Work out the other rhythmic figures yourself, and then we will compare our results. Remember, we change any of the four notes of the rhythmic figure to a rest. All right? Here is what I got. Now try to voice these rhythmic figures like I do it. Well, isn't it interesting? Now the following metamorphosis is going to be enlargement and diminution of rhythmic figures. Imagine we can blow up any rhythmic figure like a photo image. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Look! Quarter notes turn to half notes, eighths to quarters, and so on and so forth. The rhythmic pattern, which previously took a single measure, now takes two. Important, the rhythmic pattern now seems changed because it looks totally different. Now, let's diminish the pattern or zoom out the image. Quarters turn into eighths to 16th notes, and the 16ths to 32nd notes, and so on. Da 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 da. And again, there is an impression that the rhythmic pattern has changed and become difficult and unclear. But it is not so. Often something that visually disturbs us and seems unfamiliar is simple and familiar when enlarged or diminished. Now I will slightly digress and tell you about very small durations. We have never met them before. But now it's time to learn that you can divide the quarter note into even smaller parts like this. These durations are called 30-second notes. Or even like this. These are called 64 notes. Do we have to include them in the range of the rhythmic figures which we named the main in our first lesson? I don't think so. They are used in music less often, therefore we don't involve them in the working team. Let's return to enlargement and diminution of the rhythmic figures. What do we hear when comparing sounding measures? The tempo! That's what has changed. Tempo, speed, is an important means of expression in music. However, the tempo is a relative concept. Remember, in the first lesson, we have compared the duration of the quarter note, most important of all the rhythmic figures, to a human step. It is still so, but the normal step of an adult is not as light as a child's step, and not as heavy as an older person's step, is it? Therefore, the quarter and all the other main rhythmic figures in which it is hidden can move faster and slower in different music. So let's make the main conclusion. A huge variety of rhythmic patterns involves from combinations of the 7 rhythmic figures. The rest, the tie, the enlargement, and the diminution gives us countless new combinations. The magnificent 7 is always visible in the notes. I hope you're able to now write the music down correctly. Sometimes composers allow themselves liberties in the rhythm notation, though, making it much more difficult for a performer to play or sing the music correctly. Sometimes I used to write my musical compositions down more freely, too. Here is a fragment of my work, and it is better to write it down this way. For those who have passed through all 8 lessons, I have a good idea to offer. We have been dealing with simple measures, 2 quarters, 4 quarters, 3 quarters. But there are others, such as 3/8, 6/8, 9/8, and 12/8. The main rhythmic figure here is a dotted quarter note, 3/8 notes tied together. Design your own lessons in these measures. Follow the plan. Create rhythmic figures containing a dotted quarter. Combine them, join them with a tie, implant the rest into each rhythmic figure. And remember, in these measures, your hand will likely tap the 8th notes. I wish you creative success.